You know, it's probably pretty obvious, but there are some things you should just never say to a guy. Some things are better left unsaid at the end of the day. We've all said something in a relationship that we regretted and we wish we could take it back. That's what I'm going to help you with today. I'm going to save you some of that trouble by helping you understand some of the things you should never say to a guy. One of the questions I send to all of my newsletter subscribers is, what have you said to a man that you regretted? And it's one of the most popular emails I send out because I almost always get a response from women on this question. Now, again, I'm trying to save you some trouble and some problems and a whole lot of effort down the road later on when you accidentally ask him one of these questions. So let's just jump right into it with the first thing you never want to say to him. Don't say this. It's no big deal. It happens to everyone. Now, of course, we're referring to the inevitable failure in bed, which is one thing a man doesn't want to experience. He never wants to let you down, so to speak. We know your heart is in the right place when you say this, but it's still a huge blow to a man's ego to fail in the bedroom. Everything a man feels about his own masculinity can be destroyed in a single moment when he just can't get it going, if you know what I mean. And when a woman tries to brush this embarrassing event aside as quickly as she can to avoid what? The discomfort, the awkwardness, this comment doesn't really land well in his brain. Instead, focus on giving him physical affection and attention. Just silent consolation is all you need to do. Chances are he's just anxious about performing, and once his thinking gets out of the way, his feelings can come back to the front, and everything will rise after that. Next thing you don't want to say to a guy is, what's the big deal? It's just a game. Whoa, yeah, to you it might seem like he's getting too excited over nothing. After all, it's just a football game, right? Just a soccer game, just a whatever, tennis match. But to him, it's a lot more than that. It's competition. And if his girlfriend or his wife tries to squash his expression of excitement and enthusiasm, he feels like he's being scolded like a little boy. Now, as a counselor, I often see women that do this because she's uncomfortable with a man's powerful emotional expression. It can be frightening to a woman who may not see the emotional side of a guy very often to hear his emotions coming out like this. And they usually come out like in anger or exuberance when it comes to a lot of sports events. A lot of men's emotions express with a lot of power because they're held in all the time. Many women try to manage a guy's emotions to avoid the bad ones and bring out the good ones. Or she might just be jealous of the fact that he responds emotionally to his sports, but not to her. I've had to counsel a lot of couples that get into fights because, well, that's how the woman, she wants to feel that he has feelings for her just as much as the sports event. Just realize to him, it's a big deal. The same way it's a big deal to you when a woman makes a sly, sassy comment about you or your appearance. Okay, the next thing you don't want to say to him is, you have to choose between this or this. Blank or blank. You might not recognize it, but this is a form of giving him an ultimatum. You're making him choose between two things, which may not be mutually exclusive, meaning that on their own, they don't need to push each other out of your relationship. Sometimes a woman gets so fed up with her situation that she just declares that he has to choose between her or the sports, or her or that car he's fixing, or something just seems to be pushing her away, whatever that thing that you might have in your relationship that feels like it's pushing you out. But it's not. It's his hobby. It's his thing. Again, it might be his Sunday afternoon football, his mom, or that car he's fixing up. It's important to note that even if you do get him to choose you over the other thing, you're only going to create resentment. You don't want a boyfriend that gives something up that he loves just because it seems to be taking time away from you. Much better is if you can become part of his hobbies and interests. There's space and room for everything in relationships, so be very careful about making an ultimatum in your communication. He will not hear that message well. Hey, do you feel like your guy might be slipping away from you? Are things not as hot as they once were? Maybe you're even worried that he's losing interest. Do you want to win him back? You can find out if you can get him back in this short quiz. Just go to the link you see below me here. Go to datingfire.com/win him. That's datingfire.com/win him. Another thing you never want to say to him is, does this whatever make me look fat? Could be your outfit, your jeans, your yoga pants, whatever. Whatever you feel uneasy about, don't put him in the middle of that, of your internal insecurity conversation that's going on. Make up your own mind about how you feel about your weight first, okay? Then decide if you even care what his opinion actually is, or if it'll make you feel better. You can even just ask for some consolation. Every woman has moments where she feels a little bit insecure. Do your best to not pass on that moment to him. This also goes for any time that you ask the question, do you think she's pretty? It's a no-win situation for a guy, and you're just setting him up to fail, right? Another thing to never say to a guy is, your friend is so cool. Under no circumstances should you compliment his male friends very much the first time you meet them. You can say they're interesting or they're cool as a group, but don't ever pick one guy out as a favorite or that you might have even found attractive. Oh yeah, come on, it happens. Later on, you can tell him that you like Steve or Joe or Gary or whoever it is, but initially, he will be very insecure about you leaving him for another guy. He won't say it, but he'll be highly sensitive to it, the same way you would be. Yes, men can be very insecure about their own status. His friends are best to just hang out with and demonstrate that you're just a cool friend. And if he asks you what you think of one of his friends, he may be kind of setting you up there. Just say you like them, all of them, kind of matter-of-factly. That's your safest bet. Next thing you never want to say to a guy is to compare him to an ex-boyfriend, or an ex-husband for that matter. Here's another minefield you never want to get into. Comparing a man is like questioning his status and value. Again, just imagine if he compared you to one of his exes. But that would be painful, right? No man wants to think that he has to measure up to someone else's example. He wants to believe that you picked him for his unique qualities. As always, if you find yourself comparing him to somebody else, well, try and figure out what you think doing this to him would accomplish. What's that going to accomplish there? Just ask yourself if you think what you're about to say is going to make him change the way you want, or make the kind of change you want. Or you're just acting out of frustration because you're refusing to let go of a relationship that you probably shouldn't be in. Yeah, that's going to sound harsh, but it's usually the reason that women find themselves in these heated relationships. If you find yourself using violent communication, it's very likely the anger isn't so much with him as it is with your situation. Just resolve it, fix it, move on. Hey, if you like these tips, go and hit subscribe. Turn on the notifications. You can get these videos every week, and you'll know exactly when they're released. Go ahead, hit it. Never say this to a guy. Any retaliation in order to hurt him. Look, in the emotional heat of an argument or a conversation with a guy, you might feel the urge to lash out at your partner. Maybe he said something that was really insensitive. You ever said something like that to a friend of yours? Of course you have, but the point here is that you must stay in control and keep your reason at all times. It's brutally easy to take a cheap shot and insult his masculinity or some other part about him that you know he's sensitive about. You don't just bruise his ego when this happens, by the way. You plant a seed of resentment and contempt in his heart. And if you do that, if you let yourself take that cheap insult, that's one of the ways that you will destroy your bond. Then he's going to run for the safety of another relationship. Never say this to a guy. Any insult in public. If you've ever felt so frustrated with him that you needed to speak your truth in public about him, you're not alone. But I'm also not saying that that's a good idea. Just like being careless with your words in private, the number one thing you can say to a guy that will turn him into a silent ticking time bomb is if you insult him in front of other people. He may even let you get away with it, but ultimately he's gonna know, and he will leave you eventually because you've demonstrated that he can't trust you to help him keep up his self-image, or at least keep him feeling safe. He'll never feel safe around you again. One harsh word of insult destroys 2 months of connection building, easily. Trust me when I tell you this is one of those lines you never want to cross. Another thing to never tell a guy, you should get back to the gym. Enough said here. For the same reason, I'm sure you never want to hear him say that to you either. Another thing never say to a guy is no heavy conversations in text. I keep repeating this one because this is so important. This is a rule that is being broken every single day, every single minute by countless men and women everywhere. You tend to use your smartphone as an intimacy communicator, and sometimes you may even want to have a war of words with someone, mostly because it's less confrontational, right? It's less intimidating, and it's uncomfortable for you, so you use text instead of face-to-face communication. Resist that temptation. Don't do it. Texting your strong emotional content will leave you misunderstood in all likelihood. And please, finally, never say this to a guy. We need to talk. This is another one of those phrases that immediately activates a man's anxiety. When a man's anxiety is turned on, the most likely response is him ghosting you. Guys just pull away from conversations they don't want to have. The reason we need to talk is so activating is because men feel like they're being called on the carpet. It's like having to answer to your parents all over again. He literally feels like he has to go to court to defend himself in a civil case. And the likely sentence for this crime will be no sex. That may sound kind of silly to you, but that's precisely the experience a man is having inside. If you need to have a conversation with him, don't tell him about it in advance. That's not going to make it any better. First, ask yourself, why do you need to tell him we need to talk? Was it to express your own frustration and anger? Was it to subtly imply that you hold the power, the upper hand? Was it to correct him and see if you could get him to apologize? Whatever the reason is, please pledge, never use this phrase with him again. The best way to get him to talk to you is to not scare him away before you have the conversation. And of course, bring up the subject compassionately. When he learns he can feel safe talking to you, then he won't be as likely to run for the hills. It can be tricky to talk to men without him reacting or withdrawing from you, and you have to know what to do, what to say to him to get him to do what you want him to do. Let's be honest, very few women know how to do this, right? Words are essential when it comes to communicating with men, so make sure you're using the right ones for the right situation with him. If you don't, it could mean even more distance or even a breakup. Now, if you'd like to learn my simple scripts for talking to guys, exactly what to say, word for word, and when to say it to him, you need to know what the passion phrases are. Go read my special report right now. Just go to the link you see below me right here. That's right. That's datingfire.com/obsess him. That's datingfire.com/obsess him. Go check it out. It's going to be a revelation to you. Hey, if you're new here, or even if you're not, do the big three. Like and subscribe. Get this stuff every single week. Next is to turn on the notifications. Click that bell icon so you can get notified when I release more incredible videos. Yes, they're incredible, aren't they? Admit it. Coming soon, next week. And if you're already subscribed, please be sure to share my videos with somebody. Just send a link. I give away all this great free info, and I just need people to be able to find me. Oh, number 3 is comment below. Do you agree with these tips I gave you? Is there a video you want? Would you like a part 2? Just leave a comment below and let me know what other videos you want to see. I do read the comments and I try to respond to as many as I can each week. And don't forget to wait a few more seconds. I'm going to put a recommended video right up here in the corner for you to click. Hey, this is Cavallo. As always, live and love with passion.